fish friends. I was reminded by a few of you out there that maybe it's time for an update video. You guys haven't seen me post anything for a while. It's been probably a month or two at least since I've made a video or posted anything really. So I figured it was time to do something, just give you guys a little update here on the 300-gallon African cichlid tank. So here I am. I'm usually behind the camera, and maybe that's where I should stay, but I figured I'd say hey to everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Anyways, on to the more important part. Here is the 300-gallon tank. As most of you have probably seen, I know this is probably old news to some of you guys who have seen the tank a few times. My YouTube channel is One More Fish. If you guys want to check out, I have a ton of videos on there. So breaking down the sump and lighting and every aspect of this tank, because I know I'll get a bunch of questions on it. So anyways, check my YouTube channel out for a bunch of videos on the tank. But I'll give you guys just a quick update, quick overview of this tank as we are here today on, what is it, July 13th here during this lovely hide inside COVID time, whatever, but here we go. So here's my 300-gallon tank, and it has a 75-gallon sump. It's all custom made. I built the stand and the canopy top along with the countertop and chairs. And let me get the chairs out of the way here so you can actually see what's going on underneath the stand. I should have done that before. Not prepared apparently. Anyways, quick overview of the fish. So as many of you know, I had a really nasty, some sort of bacterial infection or parasite or whatever it was. I never really figured it out, never really pinpointed it. With a mixture of that and a little bit of aggression from a-holes like this one, compressiceps. Yeah, these guys, most of these guys are fully grown or close to it. So, you know, there is a little bit of aggression here and there. It seems to have calmed down a bit now. This time last year, I had twice the amount of fish in this tank, at least, if not more. Last year, this time I had about 70 fish, and I lost at least half of them over the past, I'd say, 10 months or so from a nasty, I don't even know what it was, parasite or whatever it actually was. I don't really know. I do know or think that, you know, I was buying a bunch of fish, both online and locally, and shame on me. I was trying to get away with, you know, buying these 5-6 inch peacocks and haps and throwing them right into my display tank without quarantining them. Never, you know, I've been doing this for about 30 years now and never quarantined fish. And so I figured I'll just continue to get away with it. Well, one day, of course, you know, it bit me in the butt and wiped out half of my tank, cost me thousands and thousands of dollars in fish loss. So going forward, I am always quarantining any new fish I get now. I have a few tanks set up in the basement, a 120-gallon tank, a 40-gallon breeder, etc. for quarantining, sick tanks, grow out tanks, etc. So going forward, we will definitely be quarantining the fish, but here's where we are as of today. A bunch of nice guys, Obies. I lost so many ridiculously nice fish, it makes me sick when I think about it. A bunch of really rare guys and, you know, whatnot. I had probably these guys right here, these dragon bloods. I had probably 6 or 7 beautiful full-grown orange pink guys, and sadly this is the, well, not the last one. I mean, this guy who got into a fight, you can see this little battle scar here that's healing up nicely, but we've got a few others that are starting to color up. If I get the light to adjust here. So I do want to add a few more of those dragon bloods, those pink orange dragon bloods. My local guy has some really amazing ones, big guys, so I may pick up a few of those this week, at least 3 of them. I would love to get a handful more of these yellow lab mbuna. Yes, I know they are an mbuna, but I love them for that bright yellow color. So. And this one is actually, I believe, a female. So this one is actually pretty tame. Doesn't cause any issues at all in this tank. I've had it for about 2 or 3 years now. So anyways, I'll just continue my blabbering. Sorry for the glare. But the tank is doing great now. The water is just crystal clear. I have not done a water change on this tank. Let's see, I think it's probably been at least 3 months. And the reason I do not do water changes anymore is because of the constant drip system that I installed in this tank. I did a lot of research on it, and I figured, you know, I was replacing about 150, 160 gallons of water each week manually with a large pump, and you know, the Python, just doing it manually. It was kind of a pain in the ass, not a big deal, but just something that, you know, I could have made easier for myself, so I did. So I'll talk about that in the sump portion here. Speaking of that, we'll start off on the left-hand side of the tank. Now keep in mind, while I'm making this video, there are a few things that are unfinished, including this portion right here. This is my power panel, if you want to call it. I am used to, you know, I've been doing this, like I said, I've had African cichlids for probably about at least 25 years, not 30 years now. And I've also always have done saltwater and saltwater reef tanks. So I'm very used to having power panels, and this tank basically is more along the lines of a saltwater setup. So just like my saltwater tanks, this tank has a power panel with, you know, all the different switches for, you know, just heaters and my ultraviolet sterilizer and different pumps, etc., etc. You know, I have wave makers, 2 large wave makers, heaters. I'm actually installing a couple other heaters on this tank, swapping them out, 2 800-watt heaters. So there's just a few things that I'm going to be swapping around here, but this is the panel, the brains, if you want to call it, whatever. And here's what I get asked about a lot of times is the sump setup. Please excuse me opening the doors here, but so here is the filtration system that I bought. Or not that I bought, the filtration system that I actually designed and built myself. So I bought the tank. It's a 75-gallon standard tank, and you know, I had the glass cut, made all these compartments, the baffles. I always get asked questions on the sump and how to do it, and always getting you know, private messages on how to build one, etc. There are YouTube videos. I don't actually have one of me building this. I should probably build another one and make a video, just because I get asked so many times, but I don't. It's actually pretty easy. A lot of people get intimidated by sumps, and it's really not much to it. You get the sump, you know, the glass baffles cut for the sump, and then you just silicone them in place, and you kind of come up with whatever kind of design that you want to come up with. This one, for example, I have dual, this tank is drilled, so I have dual corner overflows on this tank. They both come into these 2 7-inch filter socks, and then they go through their respective, you know, compartments. So filter socks, and this is all port foam, comes up here, more filter floss stuff, and then just the random, you know, the ceramic rings, noodles, whatever you want to call them. I have tons of bags of crushed coral and seashells just to keep my water hardness up. And then over here, I've got the K1 coldness. Some of you may be familiar, some not. Basically, they are small little plastic, I'll pull some out here for you, plastic rings. And it's kind of cool because if I get the camera to focus on it, you know, they're constantly spinning around in here. So there's really no maintenance on them. There's never any cleaning. I have not cleaned a sump out in at least 4 months. So that's pretty cool. And that's one of the major reasons I like this. I came from bio balls before this. I had a whole bio ball set up, a huge sump with the bio balls, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with the bio balls, but every once in a while they do need to be cleaned out. So this is great because it's moving at a high rate of speed, and it's basically self-cleaning itself all the time. So that's cool. And then this compartment right here, here is my constant drip system. It may be hard to see here, but basically what happens is it starts from back here, this blue line, it comes from, I drilled into my floor from the basement underneath. There's a large carbon filter downstairs in the basement under this tank. And it comes up here and comes into, I've been asked what this is. This is a leak controller. In case something in here leaks, there are sensors on the floor that alert me. It'll start sending out an alarm, and also this will snap closed, so it shuts off the water coming into the tank, which is cool and helpful. From there, it goes into, this is just a your typical standard, I don't know if it's really a refrigerator carbon filter, but that's what I'm going to call it, GE carbon filter that I have just as a secondary filter on top of the one that's downstairs. And then this comes down to this float valve, and you can't see it, but this float valve, it's actually a constant drip coming out of here. It's roughly a gallon per hour. So over the week's time, I was doing one water change a week, 150, 160 gallons. It's roughly the same amount of water being changed out throughout the entire week. So, and it's done automatically. It's dripping, you know, dripping in here, and then it goes right down here. The excess water, the old water, overflows into this pipe right here, and then down into the basement, drilled through the bottom of the stand, and that is drilled through the wood floors here, down to the basement, into the septic system, or not septic system, but the main drain out of the house, which I guess technically is kind of the septic system. But anyways, aside from that, under here in the sump, on the return line, here is my return line. There's two of them going up to each side, but it is teed off right here, and it goes up to my ultraviolet sterilizer. It's a Aqua ultraviolet sterilizer. From there, it comes out here, exits out, and it actually goes into my, right here, because this is a planter right here, it actually goes into my aquaponics system that I have set up. So these are pothos plants, and these things are just growing out of control. I mean, there's so much new growth on these guys. It's incredible how fast and how much they're growing. And they are just sucking out all of the nitrates out of this tank. It's incredible. I've been doing a lot of tests over the past few months since I set up this constant drip system, and it's almost unbelievable to me, because if someone in the past had said to me, no, there's no way you could be that low on nitrates, I would tend to agree with them. But I'm reading anywhere from 0 to 5 ppms nitrates. So I'm testing with 3 different kits. And the reason I use 3 different kits, I have 2 API kits right now, and my master kit that I always go to is my Salifert saltwater kit, which is very, very extremely accurate nitrate kit that I use on my saltwater tanks as well. Sometimes I rob kits from my saltwater tanks, and I'll go as far as testing it to 3 or even 4 times, just to make sure that I don't have any discrepancies with the different test kits or whatever, and that they're all accurate. And I lucked out. The 2 API test kits that I have for the nitrates this round are accurate. They're pretty good, so I stick with those. But to get those really low readings, I definitely go with the Salifert kits, just because they can really read the low end nitrates. And like I said, this tank is always just absolutely crystal clear, and it's because 2 things, I believe. It's this constant drip system, so I'm always getting new fresh water into the tank on a daily basis. But the other thing I use in this tank as well is ChemiPure Blue. Now, ChemiPure Blue is really geared towards the saltwater tanks, specifically the reef tanks, actually. And I've been using it in the reef tanks for I don't even know how many years, ever since they came out, basically. And I've had such great success with it in the reef tanks and the crystal clear water, and taking out any contaminants or bad stuff in the tap water, that I decided to bring it over to the freshwater side, and I use it in my freshwater tanks now, and it's absolutely incredible. So no ammonia, no nitrates, or very low nitrates, no nitrites. So it's been very successful for me to use this Chemi Pure Blue media. I use the large bag. Right now I only have one of the largest bags they sell, which is good for up to 300 gallons. Ideally, I would like to have two of those bags just because I like to overdo everything, as you can kind of see here. So ideally I would like to have, at least two of those bags, which would cover a 600-gallon tank. I always believe in extra filtration. Overkill in the filtration is good for me. So that's what I tend to do. So again, here's my 300-gallon tank. It's dual overflows. Kind of at a standstill actually with this tank, just because I don't think there's really anything else I can really do to it. I thought about upgrading the lighting on it. Right now there's just a Beamswork 6-foot LED strip and a 4-foot, I think it's, I don't even remember which one it is. It's like the True Lumen or whatever it is, strip just in the back to light up the 3D Aqua Decor background there. So yeah, that's about it. I'm just trying to think of what else I could do. Like I said, I was thinking about upgrading the lighting to, on all my saltwater tanks, I have the Kessel lights, and they are incredible with the awesome shimmer. And I was just about to put them on this tank, and then I robbed them for another saltwater tank, of course, that I'm setting up. So that's where those went, and I may end up just saying forget it and just leave this as is, because I think it looks good as is, and I just don't know if I want to bother installing more lights and fabricating stuff. We'll see. But as for now, that's it. I'm definitely going to be making another video to follow, because I have some pretty amazing fish coming this week. And like I said, though, they're not going to go in this tank. I'm going to be quarantining fish for at least 2 weeks, if not 3 weeks or more, in the basement. I've got some tanks set up. That's also another project that I'm going to be working on, is the basement and building a fish room with a handful of large tanks. On top of that, I'm kind of wanting to build a very large koi pond outside. So there's a lot of projects I'm trying to tackle at one time, and you know how it goes. So anyways, that's where it stands right now. I think the next thing to do is get the new fish in here. And the other thing I actually want to do, which I think I may have mentioned in the past, and I'm sorry this video is going on and on, I'm going to cut it short just because it's so long, but I may turn this tank into a mega overflow. Some people refer to it as a mega overflow, where right now this tank has one drain pipe on each side and one return pipe on each side. Thinking about upping that to 2 drain pipes on each side in the overflows, and then building a custom PVC 1 to 1.5 inch return line on each side. So that would dramatically increase the flow, basically almost twice the flow. Probably wouldn't even need the wave makers at all, but we'll see. So anyway, stay tuned for some new videos to follow. And as always, I appreciate you guys leaving comments and telling me what you'd like to see. I'd like to see different, and always looking for any suggestions you guys may see that I don't on the tank, or any questions, comments. I'm always happy to answer them. So I'm going to shut up now, since this is almost 20 minutes long, and I'm going to make another video soon. Or if you guys have any, things you want to see or questions that I can make a video on, please, don't hesitate to ask and give me some ideas. So thanks, guys. I'll talk to you soon.